in football, and you know the Dallas Cowboys are in first in football because Micah loves the microphone. We'll get to that in a second.
Start with the Seahawks. They have hired Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald as their head coach. What do you think of the hire, Craig?
What I loved is what Mike Macdonald said when he first got hired, and that is, I'm bringing the balloon penis to Baltimore. No, he didn't know.
Was that his opening statement? That's his opening line?
Look, this is the way we've seen it. It always happens. If you're a coordinator on a team that has great success, you get poached. Yeah. And no one's going to argue that Mike Macdonald, who had a great year in Michigan, had obviously a great year in Baltimore as a young stud defensive coordinator. They also have great talent there. You guys can speak more to the talent in Seattle versus Baltimore than I can, of course. But this is what happens when you're associated with success, and this is the way it should happen. Earn your spot. You're here, you're there, you're here, you're there. Become a coordinator, dominate, and get hired as a head coach. But I view this story more as who didn't get the job than I do Mike Macdonald getting the job. And congrats to Mike, great coordinator. We'll see if he becomes a great head coach. To me, this is more of the Dan Quinn story. Dan Quinn was a finalist for the Seattle job. There are no other jobs for him to get. So now if you're the Dallas Cowboys, and he wanted a head coaching job, and the defense really showed in a bad way against the Green Bay Packers in the playoff game, are you running it back with Dan Quinn as your defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I don't see it that way. I see it because I think he got the job because of his resume. You got to understand, he'd be all for NFC West team.
Great. Take Macdonald out of it. What do the Cowboys do with Dan Quinn?
You bring him back because they said they wanted him back. Why not? Because
Green Bay embarrassed you. That's why. Like the last taste I have in my mouth as a Dallas Cowboy fan, among other tastes, are my defense didn't show up. Period. Stop. Why am I bringing Dan Quinn back? My defense didn't get the job done. Right?
But Jerry Jones doesn't fire anybody. So, what are you going to do? Plus, there is still the Washington job, right? And Dan Quinn has interviewed a couple of times for the Washington job. So that's still on the table. I look at Seattle, and it just is endemic of the National Football League in general, is they think because you're young that you can communicate. That's the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Just because you're a young dude, you can throw some emojis on your text doesn't mean that you can communicate with players.
Right.
Like guys, there's nobody that's better communicated with his players than Wade Phillips, and he's 100.
Sure.
Wade is awesome.
Wade is great.
Yeah.
So you just have to understand what the guy is. The other thing about Seattle is when they were winning championships, we could sit there and talk about Russell Wilson. We could sit there and talk about their offense, beast mode. But it was that defense that was generational at the time.
Yeah, leads you to boom.
And they have lost that. Clint Hurt, we saw him get fired. He went on to be a D-line coach somewhere else. So they have struggled the last few years. Even though they're a talented team, they've struggled.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I know we got to move on to another topic. I love the hiring of Macdonald because I'm one of these guys, I hate the same old, same old. Like guys that get their second chance, their third chance, their fourth chance, their fifth chance. I love the new blood that's being injected into the NFL. Young guys in their mid to late 30s. Most of them are former players, which I think is a great way to go. But I love the fact that we're not bringing out all the old heads again. Let's hire Norv Turner again. Let's hire Dan Quinn again. I love the move. So I like it, and that's that.
Moving on to second and football. Cincinnati Bengals executive Duke Tobin spoke about the team retaining Higgins. And here's what he said, quote, I want Tee Higgins back. Yeah. Everyone on our team would like Tee Higgins back. There's a pie. And there are things we can do and can't do because of it. We'll see. Does that make you feel like we've seen the last of Tee Higgins in a Bengals uniform?
Yeah, because he's an unrestricted free agent. So there's going to be 10 teams bidding for the services of Tee Higgins, and I think the Bengals made a calculated mistake. As Mark said yesterday, the salary cap in the NFL is quote-unquote fungible, which means you can make it work if you want to make it work. And remember the notion back 4 months ago, before Joe Burrow got the big contract extension, Joe Burrow said, I'm willing to take less to make sure we could sign the other guys. Guess what he didn't do? He didn't take less. Right. But he did sign a contract that you can now restructure, signing bonuses, all that kind of nonsense. It's magic math is what it is. Tee Higgins will not be a Cincinnati Bengal because there'll be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 other teams, playoff teams, that are going to say, man, he becomes either our primary receiver or, worst case, our number 2 receiver on a team that's already got one, Dallas Cowboys, and all of a sudden, you've now got a great 1-2 combination. The Cincinnati Bengals made a calculated error in not getting his deal done before he became an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah,
stupid.
but they
Stupid.
also look at a receiver who missed 5 games this year. He's been injury prone ever since he's been a Bengal Valley. He's a great 1-2 punch with Chase. But at the end of the day, you want to bring back a guy who you need. Like you're already missing Burrow, right? Now you're talking about Higgins this year. Like that was the big woes with the Bengals. They just couldn't stay healthy.
Well, here's the deal, and Jamar has not been paid yet. They've got to pay him.
That's right.
The deal. Whenever you get a guy say, "Hey, the pie is only so big," which essentially means we're not that interested. We're not that into you.
Yeah.
That's what it means. Like if you want to make it work, you'll make it work.
Period.
And you
Stop.
there's no question. So they're just looking at it like, hey man, we don't want to spend this money on Tee Higgins. That's all right. He's gonna make money elsewhere.
You want to take a hometown discount? We'd love to have you back.
Right.
But Tee Higgins will be one of, if not the top wide receiver free agent on the market this year. He will get a significant deal.
That's why you have to restructure it.
I agree.
Before you become
right.
But you got to get this thing done before.
This is a calculated mistake by the Cincinnati Bengals. And yes,
Agreed.
Jamar Chase is more important. You got to get him signed, and he's the security blanket for Joe Burrow. But you're not winning a Super Bowl without talent around those two guys. Yeah. And Tee Higgins is a mad talented receiver. He will never play another down for the Cincinnati Bengals, and you can blame the Bengals for that, nobody else.
Moving on to third and football.
Third.
I think it's fair to say that Dak dramatically improved last year to this season.
Yeah.
And he also has a huge cap hit for this season. Do you expect them to restructure his deal and sign him to a multi-year deal this offseason?
Yeah, I think they have to, right? He's $59 million bucks against the cap, which is what, like a quarter of the entire cap, on one guy. So there's also not a lot of quarterbacks, or how about none, that are available that are better than him that you can go get on the free agency market. And you're not picking high enough to get a stud out of college. So the Dallas Cowboys are in a weird spot. They have no choice. They have to restructure his deal. They have to extend him. They have to commit another 3, 4, 5 years to Dak Prescott as their starting quarterback. We all agree he's a top 10 quarterback.
Sure.
So that's not really up for debate.
Right.
The issue is the playoffs. And even Dak Prescott said after that loss to the Green Bay Packers, quote unquote, I sucked. And he owns that. And that's the narrative, and it's a fair narrative, that you're paying a guy top 5 money at the quarterback position to deliver in the postseason, and he's never done that. So whether it's acquiring other talent, whether it's listening to Micah or not, whether it's finding a running back better than Tony Pollard, all that stuff that the Cowboys have to do, Dak Prescott is in a great position. There are no available quarterbacks better than him. They've got to keep him, and they have to restructure his deal.
Yeah.
So when you add it all together, Dak Prescott's going to get a 5-6-year extension, $40 to $50 million a year, and he will go into year 9 with 2 playoff wins. Period. Stop. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. You're 100% right. They've got to re-sign him. As you get older, you should get better every single year. Now, you're going to lose athleticism, but you should, whatever you lose in athleticism, you'll make up for in knowledge of the game. And I hope you're getting better every year.
Yeah, and he delivered. He talked about lowering the interceptions. He did that. Making better decisions with the football, especially in the regular season. He did that. Now, the playoffs is a different question. But overall, we've seen his game elevate, right? So I don't have no problems with Dak. I'm more worried about his offensive line. What's going to happen with Tyron Smith in free agency? Yeah. They're going to have to get some protection to keep him up.
I think you got to worry about the Dallas Cowboy defense. They were down 27-0 at home to the Green Bay Packers. In a playoff game in a building they had won 16 straight games in. So maybe Micah Parsons should put the microphone down and remember how to make some tackles and sack a quarterback.
I've been saying that. Pull the cord on that kid, man.
Right?
Like, just go ball.
Hey there. Thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.